Step into the wild world of courtrooms where shocking events unfold. Meet couples facing justice for unthinkable actions, from burying a child in their backyard to engaging in violent fights during hearings. Each story unveils a darker side of human behavior, leaving you wondering about the complexities of the legal system. Larissa and Christopher Rodriguez. This is about Lissa Rodriguez and her boyfriend, Christopher Rodriguez. They're in a court in Cleveland, Ohio, with Judge Nancy Margaret Russo about to tell them their punishment. But the reason they're in trouble happened a long time ago. One night, Christopher took Lissa's 5-year-old son, Jordan, who had special needs, to her. Instead of getting him help, Lissa just gave him a cold shower and put him to bed. Sadly, the next day they found Jordan dead. But instead of calling for help, they did something terrible. They wrapped his body in blankets and bags with mothballs and buried him in their backyard. Almost 2 months later, Christopher's brother tipped off the police, and they went to the Rodriguez's home. When they got there, a police officer asked Lissa about Jordan. She lied and said he was in Texas with his dad, but couldn't provide a phone number. It turned out to be a lie. The next day, the police confirmed the information from Christopher's brother and found out that the child was buried in the backyard. Even though they did something really wrong, during their punishment, Lissa and Christopher didn't show any remorse. They got arrested and went to court, but they made a deal. They admitted to some charges like involuntary manslaughter, felonious assault, child endangerment, and abuse of a corpse. The murder charges got dropped. Lissa got sentenced first, and the judge gave her 25 years in prison. Before Christopher got sentenced, the judge talked about how awful their actions were. She said it was one of the worst things she'd ever seen in her 22 years as a judge. The judge also didn't agree with the suggested punishment of 20 to 25 years. She thought it wasn't enough for the horrible things they did. Christopher tried to appeal the decision, but it didn't work. Now both Lissa and Christopher are serving their sentences in different Ohio prisons. Christopher got the maximum sentence of 28 years, and the judge emphasized how terrible their actions were. The judge, who normally doesn't show emotion, said this was one of the worst things she'd ever seen. Jeremy and Christine Moody. This story is about a couple, Jeremy and Christine Moody, who were in trouble in a South Carolina court. They were found guilty of really bad stuff: first-degree murder. They killed a man named Charles Parker and his wife, Gretchen. Even though they were smiling in court, they did something really wrong. The Moodys believed in some really extreme ideas, like being connected to neo-Nazi beliefs. They thought God wanted them to get rid of all sex offenders. So they found Charles Parker's address in a list of sex offenders and targeted him. The police caught them using videos from the Parkers' home and Jeremy's tattoos that had words like skinhead and white power. In court, the Moodys admitted they did it and went even further by confessing to other crimes. They said they planned to kill more sex offenders. The charges against them were for murder, kidnapping, and breaking into someone's home. Now, it was the Moodys' turn to ask for forgiveness. They said they knew what they did was wrong, and they wanted mercy. They mentioned the Bible saying not to kill, and even though they broke that rule, they believed God forgave them. They hoped the judge would let them stay together. But Judge Lee Alfred had to decide. He said the Moodys killed 2 people who couldn't defend themselves. He thought if they got out, they might do the same thing again. So he decided that justice demanded a life sentence. When the judge gave the sentence, the Moodys shared a final kiss before being taken away. But later, outside the courthouse, their earlier apologies seemed to disappear. Jeremy said he would do it again if given the chance. He even said killing a certain person was the best day of his life. When asked about repenting in court, he said it wasn't true. His lawyer made him say it. They didn't have anything nice to say to the victim's family either. In the end, Jeremy and Christine Moody got life sentences in prison with no chance of getting out. They weren't alone in their actions, and it was a really sad and disturbing story. DIA and Eric Millerberg. Let me tell you about a shocking story that happened in Ogden, Utah, involving a woman named Dia Millerberg. This happened 3 years ago when Dia, her husband, and their 16-year-old babysitter, Alexis Rasmussen, were doing some really bad stuff at their home. They were drinking and using drugs and ended up having some weird relations. Things got really bad when Dia's husband, Eric Millerberg, injected Alexis with a dangerous mix of drugs for the 3rd time, and sadly, she overdosed. Scared that he would go back to jail because of his past crimes, Eric and Dia made a terrible decision. They took Alexis's lifeless body to a faraway place and buried her in a shallow hole. Alexis was missing for more than a month until someone told the police about what happened. The police found Alexis's body and uncovered the truth about the Millerbergs. After they got caught, Dia made a deal with the law. She agreed to testify against her husband in court to get a lighter punishment. She admitted guilt for many things, like obstructing justice and messing with Alexis's body. During her punishment, Dia spoke to Alexis's family, saying she was sorry and hoped they could forgive her someday. The judge then gave Dia a sentence of 4 years and 2 months in prison. He said he understood that it took a long time to bring this case to trial, but prison was the right place for her. Dia's husband, Eric, got a longer sentence of 6 years in prison. Some people think the Millerbergs did these awful things because they were scared of going back to jail. It's a really sad and upsetting story. Cyrus Matthews. Let me tell you about this guy, Cyrus Matthews. He was in court for doing some bad stuff during a road rage incident. If you think his actions were already really bad, wait until you hear what he did next. So Matthews was supposed to go to jail for what he did, but he tried to talk his way out of it. He asked if there was any way to avoid going to jail, but the judge said no. He had to go to jail today. When that didn't work, Matthews decided to just leave the courtroom. His girlfriend even ran after him. At one point, he seemed like he might change his mind and go back. But then his girlfriend showed up, and he decided to leave for good. Once outside, Matthews and his girlfriend took off in their car. The police got involved, and what started as an escape turned into a crazy high-speed chase, going as fast as 90 mph. The chase ended in a crash with another car. Luckily, nobody in that car got seriously hurt. The police officer rushed to the scene to help. In all the chaos, Matthews and his girlfriend were pulled out of their wrecked car and taken to the hospital. Matthews got charged with hurting his girlfriend and the people in the other car, and he had to spend 425 days in jail. His girlfriend, though, didn't get blamed for what happened. This isn't the only time someone went crazy during their punishment. Mr. Yang and Miss Yang. Here's a story about a lady named Miss Yang and her husband, Mr. Hang, from South China. They were in court because Mr. Hang's mother lent them money for their wedding, and now that the couple is getting divorced, there's a fight about paying it back. During the hearing, things got super tense, and Miss Yang and her almost ex-mother-in-law started arguing. Mr. Hang didn't like how his soon-to-be ex-wife was talking to his mom, and he told her. But things got out of control real fast. What began as just yelling turned into a big fight. In the middle of all the chaos, Miss Yang got really mad at her mother-in-law and hit her on the head. This made Mr. Hang furious, and he got physical with Miss Yang. The court official tried to stop them and keep them apart, but it didn't work. The fight continued, and it took the police to finally break it up. The court official couldn't help but laugh, probably because courtroom drama like this doesn't happen every day. Both the mom and son got arrested and charged with assault. Mr. Hang got a 15-day sentence, while his mom got 5 days. In the world of courtrooms, we've witnessed shocking stories of crime, tragedy, and bizarre behavior. From burying a child in a backyard to extreme ideologies leading to murder, each tale unfolds with its own darkness. As we conclude these gripping accounts, ponder on the complexities of justice and the human psyche. What lies beneath the surface? Stay curious.